These forests have supported generations of sawmillers, but now they're quiet.
The native timber industry faces massive challenges. By 2030 there will be no native timber logging anywhere in our state.
The government's announcement that native timber logging will be banned at the end of this year has been met with anger.
Around 4,500 direct jobs will be lost.
It was devastating news.
It was a shock when the Victorian Government brought forward the closure of their native industry. We're now starting to see the ripple effects of that.
Tasmanian sawmillers like Matthew Terenius have long feared Victoria's exit from native forestry.
Well, I guess initially there was the concern that Tasmania might follow the same path as Victoria.
That now seems unlikely, but flow-on effects from the Victorian decision are being felt across Bass Strait.
We are seeing now a greater pressure on the resource down here from Victorian mills and Victoria operators trying to, I guess, come down here and secure supply. A lot of it is going straight on log trucks to Victoria.
They're felled in Tasmania, but these logs are being loaded onto the Spirit of Tasmania on their way to the mainland for processing.
There definitely has to be a question around whether it is a level playing field. You've had the Victorian industry closed down. You've had hundreds of millions of dollars of grants and payouts to the Victorian industry. Those operations are now coming into Tasmania. They're cashed up, and it makes it very hard for local businesses to compete.
In terms of the actions of the Victorian Government, it's frankly the height of hypocrisy to be shutting down native timber industry in that state and then expecting other states to pick up the pieces. We're not here to fix Dan Andrews' stuff up.
One of the Victorian sawmills importing Tasmanian wood is the Australian Sustainable Hardwoods Mill at Hayfield. It's one of the largest hardwood mills in Australia. Its managing director is Vince Hurley.
The ash business at Hayfield employs 200 people. Most of those people are in manufacturing.
In 2017, the Hayfield mill looked set to shut down.
What are you going to say? Yeah. What are we here for? Yeah.
But the Victorian Government spent $50 million buying a 49% share in a holding company to save the mill from closure.
This was an example where our government did step in to support that mill and those mill workers.
The government has no role in the operation of Ash. It doesn't subsidise, it doesn't put any money in at all. Ash is an independent company, it runs independently, decisions are made independently, and it operates independently of any government decision making or control.
After 7 years as minor shareholder, the Victorian Government is looking for an exit plan.
We're looking at different options, but we're going to make sure that we work with the community and support that community going forward.
The mill has been able to diversify with the help of millions in state and federal government grants. And as smaller Victorian sawmills close down and take government payouts, the Hayfield mill looks set to survive Victoria's exit from native logging. In 2020, the directors of Australian Sustainable Hardwoods set up a new company to purchase a mill in northern Tasmania, Western Junction Sawmill.
When we saw the opportunity at Western Junction, it was well before any hint that the Victorian Government was going to close down. We saw it as a great expansion opportunity in high-value manufacturing.
The Tasmanian mill gets timber from private forests and public and private plantations. It's been supplying the Hayfield mill with timber, angering Tasmanian sawmillers who say the Victorians are driving up prices and buying up a dwindling supply.
You have a very large player in Victoria with the backing of the Victorian Government being able to take a lot of the resource.
Where the business procures their wood is a matter for them. But we support that business. We've been with them every step of the way.
Most of what we bring over is sawn timber, so it's gone through a process in Tasmania. It's a small volume compared to our overall volume at Hayfield.
Some of the wood going to the mainland is part processed in Tasmania, but some is going as whole logs.
So you're not seeing the value adding that the existing companies in Tasmania provide, which is the kiln drying, running into flooring or architraves, really the final finished product.
So the only logs coming here from Tasmania are low-grade plantation logs.
Vince Hurley says the plan is to expand and develop the Tasmanian mill so that soon only finished products will go to Victoria.
Our aim in Tasmania is to build a couple of the very high value manufacturing plants we have in Hayfield, to duplicate them in Tasmania at Western Junction, and that'll be a great outcome from Tasmania because we'll keep all of that wood in Tasmania.
The Hayfield mill isn't the only sawmill buying Tasmanian wood and shipping it interstate.
So those timber towns, those sawmills, will make those decisions that are the most commercially viable and supportive for them, and they will look to sure where they need to get to have that adequate supply.
The Tasmanian sawmillers are worried that when the state's forestry body soon puts more timber contracts out to tender, locals won't be able to compete with Victorian businesses.
We really should be focusing on making sure that local businesses have those long-term contracts, that they have the ability to be able to invest for the long term.
So we'll be working through a process to make sure that that we get the most out of it, and also that we're not seeing some of the market distortions coming out from Victoria and affecting us.
Environmentalists celebrated when Victoria exited native logging.
What should happen, of course, the decent thing here, is that Tasmania should be following Victoria and Western Australia and ending native logging and destruction and the extinction of our species.
For Tasmanian sawmillers, a slowdown in native wood supply has been a reality for years, but they're hoping an interstate decision isn't what sounds the death knell for local businesses.
You don't build a sawmill overnight, but you certainly can close one down if you don't have the logs to put through it.